because the Minnesota Wild over the weekend, you guys have talked about some of this on Judd's Hockey Show, but let's expand here. The Minnesota Wild have clinched a playoff berth. Is this the second or third time in franchise history they've also racked up 100 points in the regular season?
Oh, I think it's the fourth time.
Fourth time? Okay.
Yeah, I think
are they on the verge of potentially setting the franchise record for points in a season?
They're going to shatter it.
They're six. I think they're 6 off.
Okay, and they've got 7 games left.
Yes.
The Blues just will not lose. The Blues just continue to win 9 games in a row, and so they're a point up with a game in. The Wild have a game in hand, but the Blues are a point up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, if you play the Blues, and it's pretty much locked in at this point, right? Like you're going to play the Blues in the first round.
Yep.
That's a really tough matchup. The Blues are one of the best teams in the NHL. What constitutes a successful postseason for this Wild team?
What constitutes it? A playoff.
What do you need to see?
A playoff run. But here's the thing.
What does that mean?
Well, success is to win, I think, at least a round and probably 2, in my opinion. Like because you made trades to position yourself at the deadline for a playoff run, which is not, hey, we won a couple games. It is we won a couple of series, got to the conference finals, and actually competed there to get to a Stanley Cup final. Now, the issue is this. The National Hockey League playoffs, early rounds are extremely difficult. So, like, you don't play some bottom feeding, lucky to be there playoff team that you will be predicted to beat in 5 games. The Blues are an extremely good team. They are a better team. To be clear, this Blues team is a better team than the team that won the Stanley Cup in 19. It is a more talented team up front. That team had big defensemen and would beat you up. This Blues team will actually score goals and is a better collection. So the thing about it, and I keep cautioning Dex on this, is in the first round, it's going to be disappointing if the Wild loses. It will not be surprising. It'll be surprising. It'll be shocking if they get swept. It'll be very disappointing and surprising if they lose in 5. But if they go 7, they might lose. And I'm just preparing people. The Blues are damn good. This is even as can be. In some ways, the Blues have an advantage. In some ways, they definitely do. So be prepared that it is going to be a fight. It is going to be, and I'm not talking fisticuffs, I'm talking a fight sports-wise, to get through the first round. And if the Wild goes out in 6 or 7, you cannot say, I'm shocked, because this Blues team is damn good. They are as good, if not better, than your team.
Yeah, the Western Conference is top-heavy. Like, the Avs are damn good. The Wild are good. The Flames are good. And the Wild are going to have to go through a tough team in St. Louis to get to the next round of the playoffs, then inevitably have to go through Colorado as well. It's going to be tough to get there. But if they get bounced in the first round, it is a massive disappointment. If this series goes 7 or 4 and they lose in the first round, it is still constitutes to me as a massive disappointment. You are on track to shatter every franchise record. You have a superstar player who has already shattered his previous records. Kevin Fiala has emerged. You made big splashes at the trade deadline, and you are going to go into salary cap hell next season. So you have to make it work this year. Like, you have to go for a run, because next year it's not guaranteed. And all that good you did this year in the regular season, we had so much fun, and all that was so great watching the Wild win. It's a fresh start next year. You have no idea what's going to happen next season. So I think it's imperative that they at least get to the second round of the playoffs. And if they don't, if they lose in the first round to St. Louis, massive disappointment.
Listen, you guys know what this is all about, right? Right? What's it all about? Spurgey?
Hard work and having fun.
That. This is about winning.
I love it. You know, the other thing, too, is we can play this game almost every year where, all right, the Wild are really, really good, but, oh, man, look at the other really good team that they have to face in the first or second round, right? Like, show me a year where the Wild are going to be just far and beyond the best team in a sport that has all sorts of parity and randomness to it. and they're just going to get a cakewalk through the first, second, third rounds. Like, that doesn't exist in hockey.
Right.
So whether it's this year or any of the previous, decade, basically, that they've been going to the playoffs, they're going to have to rise up and beat really good teams that can also win the Stanley Cup. And that's been the biggest failure to this point. So I believe they've made, in the last 10 years, the only team that's made the playoffs more than the Wild is the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the Penguins have at least one cup over that stretch, potentially two. Don't they have 3 cups since like 2008 or something?
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on
Yeah.
when they fall in. So the Wild have been to the playoffs more than every team in the last decade except for the Penguins, but they've never been past the second round. It's like, at some point, I don't want to sit here and be negative Macadac, but like, guys, you got Kirill Kaprizov, you got one of the great goalies of this generation, you got some depth, you got some players that have popped up and had career seasons, Zuccarello, like Kevin Fiala. Just go do it, right? Like, I don't think we should be afraid to. I feel like we sit here sometimes as Minnesota sports fans. I'm not saying you guys are doing this, but it's going to be really hard, and oh man, the Vikings might have to face this team on the road. It's like, yeah, I mean, hello, like, welcome to winning a championship. Welcome to getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. Right. It's going to be really hard. Now, is it going to be harder potentially for the Wild than some of the way that we can talk about this too? The way that the playoff bracket sets up in the NHL, your path is actually going to be easier if you get past the second round. Like, you might face the 2 hardest opponents in the first and second rounds, and then you get a reprieve potentially, as much as you can have a reprieve in the Western Conference Finals. So, I don't know if I love that, but I don't know. The Blues are good. So are the Wild. At some point, you got to go beat a good team in a 7-game series.
And yes, I agree. It's disappointing if they lose. If they lose in 6 or 7, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm preparing you for the fact that I think it's going to be it should be a really good, evenly played series. The difference, though, is I think that this team has the intestinal fortitude to actually not be a bunch of whining losers, which this team previously was. And so I think they're going to fight through things, and they should be. Look, the loss in 7 games last spring to the Knights should help them. Like there should be reference points now. Kaprizov has to do more. He simply does. I'm just saying that this is going to be a hard-fought, really fun. Don't assume. I don't want people to assume, yeah, the Wilds had a great year, they're going to go in and kick some ass. No, they're not. It's going to be difficult. I am willing to give the benefit of the doubt to teams, though, that care and that actually care. Look, the Wolves with Ant are a different team to me. The Wolves are a different team. They're not a sniveling bunch of whiny, some guys are, but a bunch of whiny babies. They have guys like Pat Bev and Ant. This Wild team should be tough, and they should play tough. But, I grew disgusted previously because, there were always excuses, right? Like, put the excuses aside, go battle your asses off, go play hard, but you're going to exchange punches. You'll win some, you'll lose some, and I am very willing to see how this plays out. But as far as expectation, yeah, I expect that this team should be at the point where it can make a run. Is it going to? I have no clue.
My other question is on the format. I know you guys have talked about this on Judd's Hockey Show, but
very controversial.
So the NHL, correct me if I'm wrong, is trying to set up rivalries, right?
Correct.
Like, they want
Division
you to
rivalries.
play division teams in the first. They want to guarantee division matchups and regional matchups in the postseason.
Correct.
Which I get it. So it's going to cause some more bad blood between the Wild and the Blues, and then fan bases can be passionate, whatever.
Yep.
But there's a good chance. I would say good chance. There's a fair chance that the Wild could wind up with the second most points in the Western Conference. So they're currently 2 points behind the Flames, 1 point behind the Blues, and the Wild have an extra game in hand over both those teams. So it's very feasible the Wild could wind up second in points in the Western Conference behind Colorado, in which case they would play Dallas or the Kings, or like the Vegas Golden Knights are still sitting there, just on the outside looking in, that they would play a much weaker opponent in the first round, get yourself some momentum, maybe win that series in 5 or 6 games, right?
Yep.
Like if it was
going.
just conference,
Yep.
like the NBA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep
Watch
going.
me.
Yep.
And so, that happens. And then let's see here. Then you would play, whoever wins the 3-6 matchup, which would be then you'd probably play the Blues or Calgary in the second round, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that seems like you should be rewarded for winning more games in the regular season to put yourself in a situation to not have to play. Like, why do you have to play the Blues in the first round if you finish potentially second? They could finish second in points in the West and play the freaking Blues in the first round.
Because the first place team in the Pacific, the Flames, is going to get the 7. Yeah, no, I mean, look, the problem is this.
I'm not ducking here, but I'm just saying.
No, you're good.
Hockey has never had a playoff format that makes its fan base happy. Like this is the problem, because they used to do what you're talking about, and then it's like, well, the Wild's playing the Canucks. I mean, so they've always struggled with because this format doesn't make the most sense, but it creates the most fun, and that's what they want. But I totally get your point, and yes, it's frustrating that your path to the Western Conference Finals is actually way tougher.
It's like the hardest path of any team in the league.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
You got to go through Colorado. So think about this too.
Yep.
If you got the second seed, again, not that you're looking to duck Colorado, but it would be nice to give a couple other teams a shot to upset them in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
If they happen to get knocked off in the second round and you don't get to meet them in the Western Conference Finals, all right, that's the way the league works.
Oh darn.
But now you're guaranteed almost to face them in the second round if you can get past the Blues. It's just like, I don't know. What's the point of, at this point, like, why are you even trying to rack up? It doesn't matter. You should just be resting guys. I don't know.
I think it should go back to what it was, which was the 1 through 8, 2 versus 7, 4 through 6. Division winners don't matter. Like, I don't think that should play a factor.
Yeah.
The contradictory part is, like, every hockey fan and even casual sports fans even say, well, there's nothing like NHL playoffs, right? So they even look at like the format setup as like, well, actually, we're going to do this division setup where the second place team plays the third place team, and then that second place team has to place your division. Like,
but no one knows how that even works. Like, fans don't know how that works.
And that is what is so dumb to me. Like when baseball was like, hey, we're going to add a second wild card team. Oh, okay. What are we going to do here? And now we're going to award a division winner. Well, actually, the third division winner still has to go through the play-in. Like, why are the playoffs for hockey and baseball like this? It makes no sense.
Well, and then take the NBA, and I get the NBA's had some issues the last few years too, with just like they've seen some TV ratings drop off. But I think the NHL would love to have the NBA's popularity and reach and
100%.
excitement, right?
Correct.
And the NBA doesn't obsess over, well, we need to make sure that like the Bucks and the Bulls are playing each other in the first round. No one cares. It's the most regional first round matchup. No one is like, oh, it's a Milwaukee, Chicago.
Right.
They're in the same division. The rivalries in the NBA are not based on regions. I mean, they're based on conferences, but like the Heat and the Celtics for all those years, right? And then the Celtics and the Lakers in the 80s were a rival.
But basketball
It had nothing to do with region.
Right, but basketball is more popular. See, hockey's trying to milk something that basketball doesn't need. Like basketball is basketball. People are going to be, oh, playoffs are here. I'll watch. Hockey is always trying to like be like, what can we do to get 3 more people to tune in? Blues fans hate the Wild. We'll have that series. So like, it's literally a problem of basketball, big kid, hockey, baseball, sort of little kid, right? So they're like, what can we do to appeal? Basketball and football don't have to be concerned. So
does it move? Am I wrong?
Totally.
Does it move the needle? So because the Wild and the Blues, which aren't even like really regional rivals, like I get they're in the same division, but like I don't know.
Well,
do Wild fans hate the Blues and the Blues fans enough to, I don't know, like I just don't.
I get your point totally. I'm telling you, they are desperately grasping at straws to get whatever they can to create like the Flames and Wild. Ain't nobody care about that. Like, oh, you hate Calgary. I always thought it was hilarious when for a while Wild fans hated the Canucks. We hate the Canucks. It's like, do you really hate the Canucks? Like, do you really hate them? So, Phil, your point is a good point. I agree with what you're saying. And that being said, I know exactly why these playoffs are set up like they are. But as a fan of the team, it is frustrating to see that team have to basically go through the first 2 rounds that are just, incredibly tough. And the problem too is this. So if you do get through and you're to the Western Conference Finals now, it actually gets easier.
I know.
Which
and
to your
it's
point is not how it should be.
And the games are higher profile then, and more people conceivably would be watching, and it's not a rivalry.
I know.
Like
you're
you've
right.
guaranteed a non-rivalry game almost in the Western Conference Finals.
And
right?
now it's the Flames. Yeah, no, you're right.
The other thing to bring up here, so Wild play tonight in Montreal. Do we know for sure that Talbot is starting this game? It's his turn based
Have
on
you seen
the.
it, Dex?
I know Chafee, a player will be making his NHL debut tonight because they said that. I'm not sure if it's Talbot or not. Probably is Talbot, but
I'm willing to bet a lot of my hard-earned cash it's Cam Talbot.
So it's
They've
now
truly gone through with the rotation.
yeah,
I
Talbot.
believe this is the
Talbot
okay.
in
So
net.
he's in net. So this is the 15th game, I believe, 14th or 15th game since they traded for Marc-Andre Fleury, and they have literally alternated every other game.
Call it a
for
rotation,
the
Phil
team.
Mackey. Don't call it a rotation. Dean doesn't like that.
I mean, it's very clearly a rotation.
No. What did I just say?
Is this going to continue? So they have 7 regular season games left, and then the playoffs. I mean, at what point does Marc-Andre Fleury just he hasn't played back-to-back games with the Wild yet?
Correct.
Is what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are this. I think there's a lot of people who think that this will sort itself out, including me, and think, yeah, you know what? Flower might start the first game, and if he's good, he's going to stay in there. But here's the thing to keep in mind with Dino, and it's a fairly important thing, unless he's overruled. Dean Evison loves consistency, and he loves to have his players know what he's going to do. That's become very clear. Dean leaves his lines together to a fault. In fact, one problem is when they struggle, like Zuccarello, Kaprizov, Hartman on Sunday was just awful. They were terrible. And ordinarily, I would say in 2022, 8 out of 10 coaches would say, I'm going to break you guys up. You're not playing well. You might be back together eventually, but not tonight. Mm-hmm. Dean doesn't do that. And so when it comes to goaltending, I think that there is a surprising level of consistency that he likes his players to know and have. In other words, I'm not going to be surprised if when the playoffs start, they start in a rotation. And I know that there are people that will go crazy, will hate it. I'm mixed about it. But I asked him after the game on Sunday, I said, you're really weird in the fact that you don't juggle lines. Like you leave things together. Mm-hmm. Most coaches now, that's an old school thing. But now, I mean, Jacques Lemaire would blow up lines just because he got bored. And he said, I like to allow the players to figure it out. If I step in and try and manipulate things, I'm basically taking the power from them. I don't like that. And so I think that probably translates to goal. So I'm predicting he's going to open with a rotation. That's my prediction.
I think Flower gets the benefit of the doubt in game 1. I think he gets the benefit of the doubt in game 1. If they win game 1, I still think he gets it again in game 2. I think Flower starts back-to-back games if they win. Just looking at since the trade deadline here, okay, because both Flower and Fleury have been phenomenal together when they've been playing. So since the trade deadline, here are some goalie rankings in terms of goaltenders who have played at least 300 minutes, because obviously there's a crap ton of goalies that have played, but amongst starters, basically starting goaltenders in the last month. These have played about 7 to 8 games. In terms of GAA in that time period, so goals allowed, Cam Talbot is first, Marc-Andre Fleury is fourth. In terms of save percentage, Marc-Andre Fleury is second, Talbot is third. In high danger save percentage, Marc-Andre Fleury is fourth, and Cam Talbot is actually farther down the list at 28th. So the one thing that, in my opinion, has kind of broken the back, and this is where I think you've seen Marc-Andre Fleury do this, is in high danger situations, Fleury is more reliable. And also that's because he's legitimately one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. But traditional statistics have suggested that both have been about the same. They've been pretty good. But I think at the end of the day, you have to trust that Marc-Andre Fleury is your guy. So if they lose game 1 and Marc-Andre Fleury's in net, wouldn't be shocked at all. They go to Cam Talbot. If they win, it'll be Marc-Andre Fleury's net.
Is there a chance, because, Marc-Andre Fleury is, 37 years old?
Yeah, he's old.
That part of this rotation is, all right, we know we're in, and at this point, we know who we're playing, so there's not a whole lot to be gained running you out there for like 3 or 4 consecutive games. We might mix in Cam Talbot in the postseason, but let's do this rotation to keep you as fresh as possible for when the postseason hits.
That's what I would think. I think Dean thinks I want to empower both guys. I want to play both guys. I mean, everything he does as a coach is about maximizing the entire roster. And Cam Talbot's not bad. And to Dex's point, he's been good, especially since the trade. So that's why I think the way trying to get inside Dino's mind, trying to get around in that mind, I really believe that he is going to give both a chance to play. And I think that he is very big because the guy plays his fourth line a ton. He likes to give. He plays. My God, he's playing Goligoski and Ben together consistently. I wanted to jump out the press box on Sunday, but that's how he works. That's how he operates. And so I really believe he's going to give both a chance to start. And if one guy is bad, that changes. But since the trade, both have been good. And what's weird is this: Fleury makes these unbelievable saves and gives up these crappy long-range goals, like Dex has talked about. Cam is, but I just really think in trying to surmise and watch games and see how Dean operates until he actually starts to bench guys a bit, he just doesn't do it. He really wants to empower players as much as possible, but he doesn't want to allow them to control the team, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair. No, I'm fascinated by it. I think I would, again, all the years that I've coached hockey, I'm going to come in with my takes right now.
You're the whisperer, man.
That's right. I would keep the rotation through the rest of the regular season. I may ask Marc-Andre Fleury, is it imperative for you to start back-to-back games at some point in the next 7? And if so, let's do it. Let's do it before the Calgary Colorado back-to-back finish. Let's do it.
A lot. Yep.
Maybe there's a back-to-back in there before. I don't know that I'd want to put him out there back-to-back against the 2 best teams in the Western Conference, and then boom, he's got confidence problems going in or something.
Sure.
I don't know if he has confidence problems as a 37-year-old, but I would check with him and say, listen, we want to play you a lot in the postseason. You're our guy, but to what extent do you need to see back-to-back games in the next 2 weeks?
On your points. Point too, though, Phil. So the one thing is the Wild is probably going to keep going aggressively because the second and third place spots in the Central are not decided, and home ice advantage can be crapped on as far as the fans, they might be important. I don't know, but the one thing that's important is this last change, and I'm not talking last change in games 1 and 2. I'm talking about a potential game 7. So I think the Wild's going to keep going as much as possible to try and get second place. They go into tonight. They're in Montreal, as you said. And if I'm not mistaken, St. Louis is playing host to Boston. They've got a game in hand, but they're a point back. But I really think that there are some intangible or some small things that could be huge for a game 7 that's going to cause the Wild to chase the Blues aggressively to try and get second place. So we can debate about the fans and the buildings, but there are things like the last change that can be extremely important in that last game if you get to that last game.
Yeah, how about that? Look at what we just did there. Just a deep puck dive, just an absolute masterclass in breaking down the Wild right there. That's right.
Playoffs too. Here's the thing: Kaprizov has to be what Ant's been.
Yeah, step up, dude.
That's the guy who's got to play through stuff. You got to play through
the
that,
lights,
baby.
embrace the pressure.
Yep.
Speaking of embracing the lights, how about embracing the spiral light candles?
I see what you did.
Have been popular among some of the Mackie and Judd and Purple Daily listeners.
And do you know why? It's very simple because Mom's Day is May 8th. And Mother's Day, you know what, guys? What? Sons, husbands, we always say we want to avoid cliche gifts, right? Like you don't want to get dad socks for Christmas. So there are certain things for mom you don't want to get, and that is where spiral light candles, here they come to save the day, because they are the perfect gift. I'm telling you right now, they smell great. They're not expensive. They start at $14, and on orders of $50 or more, they ship for free. Spiral light candles are made locally. Best of all, they're shipped here too, so they get there quickly. SpiralLightCandles.com. SpiralLightCandles.com. Sports Dad is telling you right now, sons and husbands, you're looking for gifts. Order today. Get it done with. It'll ship. Surprise her on May 8th. She'll be thrilled. SpiralLightCandles.com.
Boom. There we go. There we go. I've got a full page of hockey beds here. I'm
Why
just
does
ready to rifle these.
TNT? Why does TNT do sports so well? Like
They're
that
great,
song
dude.
is awesome.
It's unreal.
They understand how to have fun pre-game shows.
But their
you know?
music even is like so good.
I love it. I love it. All right, dudes. So write that down tomorrow, where we admit that we were wrong. We make predictions. And Timberwolves tonight, little Timberwolves vent line, special Mackie and Judd after Game 2 is over on the Score North YouTube channel. So check that out too. All right, Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment. See you guys.